channel, or welcome if you are new. For today's video, I'm going to be doing my weekly check-in. So we are going to check in with all of my variable expenses here. We're also going to fill in a few things here in this monthly section. If you are not familiar, this is your first video of mine that you're watching. First of all, welcome. I appreciate you stopping by my channel. Make sure that if this is the kind of video you're interested in, that you are subscribed. But if this is your first time here, this is my monthly budget. This is what I call my hybrid budget worksheet. I do have this available in my Etsy shop. It is a really phenomenal printable worksheet that allows you to break your budget down both monthly and weekly. Something I designed myself because I was looking for a new way to budget, struggling a little bit with the paycheck to paycheck budgets that I was doing in 2021. Towards the end of the month, or the year, I switched some things up, and I was really finding that the paycheck budget method wasn't really working for me anymore. So I came up with this method, and it's been working really, really great. So I'm going to fill in week 2 today, since week 2 is behind us now. For me, my week 2 was January 11th through the 17th. So I'm going to actually pull in my expense tracker for that week, which I did film an expense tracking video and posted it earlier this week. So if you missed that video, make sure you check it out. But I'm just going to use this as my sort of guide to fill in my week 2 here. So I'm going to go ahead and flip this in half. I'm going to have this kind of off to the side. I'm going to pull in an erasable pen because I did not use an erasable pen when I did my transaction tracking, and it was a hot mess. And we're just going to start filling things in. So first I'm going to go ahead and write in the bills that we paid. So DTE did come out on the 11th for a total of $193, which is exactly what I budgeted. So that's good news there. Michigan Gas was, I budgeted $42, and that is exactly what came out. Subaru, on the other hand, if you watched that expense tracking video, you know that I made a huge blunder. I accidentally paid my Subaru payment too early, and therefore the payment that I made did not cover my minimum payment, and so I had to go in a couple of days later and make a second payment to make sure that that minimum payment was covered. I kind of explained a little bit more about that in that transaction tracking video. I'm not going to go into it again, but needless to say, instead of sending $400 to Subaru, I sent $400, and then I still had to pay the minimum payment, which was $386.91. So I actually paid $786.91 to my Subaru for January, which is not what I wanted to do. It is going to probably mean that I have significantly less than I thought I would to pay towards the debt we're currently working on, which is a city card. Where is that worksheet? Oh, it's at the very front. So we're currently working on a city card. We owe about $700, and I was hoping to make a really large payment towards that card this month, but because I made that mistake with my Subaru payment, that's likely not going to be the case, unfortunately. But it is what it is. Accidents happen. I'm not going to beat myself up over it. Alright, so the other bill then that came out this week was Planet Fitness for $10. So that's it for bills. We're about halfway through the month, and we've got about half of our bills paid, so that's looking good. Now let's go ahead and work on our variable expenses, starting out with groceries. So I gave myself a total grocery budget for the month of $600. So when I sat down and wrote out week 1's budget, what I did was I divided that 600 by 4, since I was operating with 4 weeks in January, and I gave myself $150 for that first week. But because that first week was technically 10 days because of the way that I broke it up, We ended up spending quite a bit more than that. So we spent $250, $287 that first week, and that meant that we took what was left from that $600 and again divided it by how many weeks we were working with, and I gave myself a budget of $115 for week 2. Now, these budgeted amounts for the weekly section, they matter in that they kind of keep me on track. Like, in order to keep on track with my monthly budget, I need to stick to this. But if I go over budget in one of these categories for the week, it's not the end of the world, because the weekly budget doesn't matter. Ultimately, the monthly budget is what matters. So I could spend $600 my first week, and as long as I didn't spend money the subsequent weeks and I came in under $600 at the end of the month, I'd be okay with that. But realistically, I try to kind of break it up so that I don't end up spending all of my money in the first week and then not being able to spend any money throughout the month. Does that make sense? So for week 2, I had $115 for groceries, and I actually spent less than that, which is great news. So I spent on groceries $82.01. So not too shabby. That means then that I came in under budget for the week by $32.99. So then the way that I will figure out what I'm going to be able to budget for groceries for week 3 then is I'm going to take the $600 I started the month with. I'm going to subtract out what I spent in week 1, which was $252.87. And what I spent in week 2, which was $82.01. Oops. And that leaves me with $265.12 for the remainder of the month. And we have 2 more grocery shopping trips to go. So that means then that for week 3, my budget's going to be $132.56. And I did just drop the change. I'm going to budget $132. So that is how I've been breaking things down weekly. It's been working out really well for me so far. The great thing about budgeting is you can really do it any way you want as long as it works for you. So while this is how I'm choosing to use the weekly sections of my hybrid budget worksheet, you can totally use these any way you want. Make it work for you. All right, so that's groceries. Next is eating out. So we budgeted $48 this week, and we spent $40.01. So again, we are under budget for the week, which is great news. So again, just like with groceries, we're going to take our eating out total for the month, which is $200, and subtract out what we've already spent. So in week 1, we spent $53.60. In week 2, we spent $40.01. So that leaves us with $106.39 for the rest of the month. We're going to divide that by 2 since there's 2 more weeks that we are budgeting for. And that means that our eating out budget for week 3 is $53. So as long as we spend under $53 in week 3, that should keep us on track with our monthly budget. So that's eating out done. Next we have household, and for household we only had a budget of $9. We definitely spent more than that. You can see here my household total is $26.29 for the week. So I believe that means we are already over budget for the month. I only budgeted for our household expenses. You can see here $100 for our monthly budget, and I'm pretty sure we're over that. So week 1 we spent $72.93. Week 2, okay, $26.29. So technically we have 78 cents left in our household budget. But I'm going to say that we have nothing. And again, even though we went over budget this week, we're still under budget for the month overall. So it's not necessarily a bad thing. If I don't spend anything else in household for the rest of the month, I'll still come in under budget. Now, when I set up January's budget, It was really my first time in quite a while breaking out household expenses from groceries and eating out. This used to all be one big category: groceries, eating out, household. And I separated it out for the new year, so I didn't really know how much to budget for household, so I gave us $100 with the knowledge that we may spend more than that. So if I do go over this household budget for the month, I'm not going to beat myself up. I do have some wiggle room in my budget with my miscellaneous category, and we also have a buffer in our account to cover, you know, things when things go sideways, like with the Subaru payment. That was not in the plan. That's a huge amount of money that I would have had to scramble for had I not had that wiggle room in my budget. So, you know, even if we do go over budget for household for the month, it's not going to be the end of the world. All right, for gas. For the week, I had $48 that I had budgeted, and we only spent $40 in gas. So we are looking good there. So our gasoline budget for the month is $200. We spent $53.01 the first week. We spent $40 this second week. That leaves us with $106.99 left for the month, divided by 2. That means that our budget for gas for the week is going to be $53. I sincerely hope that what I'm doing with this weekly breakdown is making sense. Totally makes sense to me, and that's all that really matters, but I don't want you guys to be confused. All right, next up then is miscellaneous. So for miscellaneous, I budgeted $28. And for miscellaneous here, we spent $15.57. So under budget there, which is good. So our overall miscellaneous budget is $100 for the month. In the first week, we spent $13.20. And in the second week, we spent $15.57. So we've got $71.23 left. 2 more weeks in the month. That means our budget for week 3 is $35. Should be pretty darn easy to maintain that budget. For my husband's spending, I pull out his entire $40 spending money in cash and give it to him at the start of the week, and I do not keep track of that whatsoever. So I just count this as $40 spent because it's gone and out of my budget. He may still have some of that cash in his pocket for all I know, but it doesn't matter because I don't track that here. And the same with Austin's spending. I don't track his either. I just give him his $20. So lastly then is my spending. And for the second week in a row, I didn't really spend anything. You guys know last week, I took $2 out of my spending money to put towards our savings challenges because I've been doing the Hydrate or Pay savings challenge from Hands and Bands. I will link that savings challenge video above if you missed it, but that's where that $2 went last week. But other than that, I haven't spent any of my spending money. So I give myself $40 a week. So of that $80 in the first 2 weeks, I've only spent $2, which is awesome. So that means then that for week 3, totally forgot about my husband. He's gonna get $40 more this week. For week 3 though, for myself, we had 78 plus this week's 40, so I'll have $118, which is awesome. And then Austin is gonna get his $20 for the week. All right, so let me really quickly just go ahead and get a total for this week 3 overall. That's $451. It's our overall budget for variable expenses for week 3. And let me really quickly get a total for how much we spent in week 2. So we have $82.01 plus $40.01 plus $26.29 plus 40 plus $15.57 plus 40 plus 20 So we had $386 to work with, and we only spent $263.88. So this would have been a really phenomenal week if it wasn't for that Subaru payment boo-boo that I made. But, you know, it happens. It is what it is. No sense in beating myself up for it. I can't change it. So, yeah, so far the week is looking pretty darn good. I think we are on track to be under budget overall for the month, with the knowledge that, you know, the money that I probably was going to pay towards City went to Subaru instead. Still, I think overall we're in good shape. We'll find out, I guess, next week when we come back and check in. The only other things that happened, I put $69 towards our savings challenges this week. You would have seen that if you watched that savings challenge video, so that has been accounted for. I still haven't filled in my sinking funds section, but we did fill our sinking funds for the month. That was in a previous video, so I'll go in off camera and fill this in. I just keep forgetting. And then any debt payments that we are able to make towards City, if any at all, will go here under this debt payment section. Technically, I could have put that extra $400 that I put towards Subaru here under debt payments because that was above and beyond what I needed to pay, but I just kind of put it in this way. Doesn't really matter. It's kind of arbitrary. All right, friends, that's it then for my budget check-in. If you like this video, please give it a big thumbs up. That really helps out my channel. Don't forget to subscribe. I post new budgeting and lifestyle content here on my channel every single week. I'd love to have you come back, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye.